last time. So if x plus 5 equals 0, or x minus 7 equals 0, it means that x equals -5. And then it means that all x is equal to 7. -7 goes this side to become +7. And +5 goes this side to become -5. So implying that x is equal to -5, all x is equal to 7. Now, for number 2, this quadratic equation is not factorized. Now we need to factor it. So we look for a common factor of 2x squared and 6x. And we know that the common factor will be 2. So we have 2x into x. Sorry. 2x into x will give you 2x squared plus get 6x divided by 2x, you'll get 3. So 2x times 3, you'll get 6x. Now we have factored it. So after it is factored, we are going to solve it. So we say that in order to get 0, maybe 2x is equal to 0, or x plus 3 is equal to 0. And if 2x equals 0, it means that x equals 0. And if x plus 3 equals 0, we will take 3 to go this side to become negative. So it implies that x equals -3. Is that okay? So it means that x equals 0, or x equals -3. Now, for number 3, when we have 4a squared minus 9 equals 0, this one we are going to solve it using the difference of squares. When we talk about the difference of squares, we mean that, like, if I have a squared minus b squared, it means that I have a plus b into a minus b. So this means that if I have 4a squared, it means that I have 2a squared. So that if I have 2 squared is 4, and a squared is this a squared. So 4a squared is the same as 2a squared. Then when I have 9, I can write it as 3 squared. So this is equal to 0. So now it means that I have 2a plus 3 into 2a minus 3. So then I can say that 2a plus 3 equals 0, or 2a minus 3 equals 0. And if 2a plus 3 equals 0, plus 3 will go this side to become -3. So I will have 2a equals -3. And if 2a is equal to -3, then it means that a is equal to -3 out of 2. If we divide by 2 on both sides, then a is equal to -1.5. Then if we have 2a minus 3 equals 0, this -3 will go this side to be +3. So I will have 2a equals 3, and a will be 3 out of 2, and which means that a is 1.5. So it means that the solution is that a is either -1.5, or a is 1.5. Aha. So for these quadratic equations that are in this format of example 3, we always get two answers when one is negative and another one is positive. Okay, then for example number 3, this is what we looked at also already. Here, it is in the general form of a quadratic equation. Remember, the general form of quadratic equation is that we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This is the general form of a quadratic equation. So you can see that this is in the general form. So what we have to do for this case is to look for two numbers that we can multiply to get two numbers to multiply to get negative 28, and two numbers to add to get negative 3. So what could be those numbers? Two numbers that we can add to get negative 28, sorry, that we can multiply to get negative 28 and add to get negative 3. What are the numbers? Yes, Arirat, what are the numbers? Yes?
7 and 4.
7 and 4, but one should be negative, right?
Negative 7.
Yes,
Negative 7.
negative 7 and positive 4. So negative 7 times 4, we get negative 28, and negative 7 plus 4, you know that we will get negative 3. So those are the two numbers. So we say that we are having x minus 7 is this negative 7 into x plus 4 is equal to 0. Plus 4 is this 4. So then it means that x minus 7 is equal to 0. All x plus 4 is equal to 0. And if x minus 7 equals 0, it means that x equals 7. And if x plus 4 equals 0, it means that x equals negative 4. So the two answers are that x is 7, all x is negative 7. I hope this is understood. This is what we looked at last time. Okay. So the other important thing that I want you to master is when you need to use the difference of squares. Let me give you another example for when you need to use the difference of squares. Let's call it number 5. Like for instance, you have got c squared minus 1 out of 4 equals 0. Now, step 1, you need to make sure that both of these terms are squared. So this is okay. I have c squared minus, but I need to write 1 out of 4 squared. Remember, 1 is the same as 1 times 1. And you know that 4 is the same as 2 times 2. So it means that if I have 1 out of 4, it's the same as when I have 1 out of 2 squared. Such that 1 squared is 1 and 2 squared is 4. So 1 out of 4, I will write it as 1 out of 2 squared. I must square both terms. Then the next step, I write them in the difference of squares. So I say c plus a half into c minus a half. Is that understood? So we have c plus a half equals 0, or c minus a half equals 0. And if c plus a half equals 0, it means that c is negative a half. And if c minus a half equals 0, it means that c equals a half. So you can see that one answer is negative, another one is positive. So our final answer is that c is equal to negative a half, or c is equal to a half. Please, you must understand that very, very, very well, because it might confuse you when I give you exercise. Let me give you the very last one. If, for instance, you are having, let's say, 4k squared minus 100 equals 0. So we need to write 4k squared as first square. What number can you square to get 4? That will be 2, and then you get k. So this will be 2k squared. So you have 2 squared to get 4, and k squared to get this k squared. Minus 100 will be 10 squared. This will be equal to 0. So you get 2k plus 10 into 2k minus 10 equals 0. So then this means that 2k plus 10 equals 0, or 2k minus 10 equals 0. So then this will be 2k equals minus 10 when we take plus 10 to go this side, so that k is the same as minus 10 out of 2 when we divide by 2 on both sides, so that k is negative 5. And for this case, we will have 2k is equal to 10. This is minus 10. When it goes this side, it becomes plus 10. So k is 10 out of 2, which is the same as 5. So you see that our answers are that k is negative 5, or k is positive 5. Note that you will always get a similar number, but one is negative, another one is positive. That is when you are dealing with quadratic equations in this form, and you are going to have to use the difference of squares. So I believe that that is very, very well understood. So for today, let us continue to make sure that we complete what we have to study about in solving quadratic equations using factorization method. So look at when we have a question like, we need to factorize 2x squared plus 5x minus 12 equals 0. Assume that you have a problem like this. You need to factorize and solve it. So first of all, we will first find what is 2 times negative 12. 2 times negative 12. You get the leading coefficient times the constant. So 2 times negative 12. So 2 times negative 12, we will get negative 24. So now we will look for two numbers that we can multiply to get negative 24, then again, those very two numbers, we can add them to get positive 5. So what do you think that those numbers are? Two numbers to multiply to get negative 24, and we add to get positive 5. What do you think? Think about negative 3 and 8. Negative 3 times 8, we will get negative 24. But negative 3 plus 8, we will get 5. So this means that we have negative 3 and 8. Those are the two numbers that we have got. So what we are going to do is that we have the leading coefficient as 2. So now we are going to say that we have 2x minus 3 into 2x plus 8 equals 0. But now the thing is that we are factorizing. We need to make sure that we do not have any common factor. When you look at this is okay. 2 and 3, they do not have any common factor. But when you look at this, 2 and 8, we have a common factor there, which is 2. So what we do, we divide it by 2. So in other words, we are going to get 2 divided by 2 and 8 divided by 2, because we are having 2 as a common factor of 2 and 8. So what we are going to do is that we are having 2x minus 3 into 2x divided by 2 is the same as x, plus 8 divided by 2 is 4 equals 0. So it means that we are having 2x minus 3 into x plus 4. So already we have finished to factorize it. So we can say that 2x minus 3 equals 0, all x plus 4 equals 0. And if we have 2x minus 3 equals 0, it means that 2x equals 3. We bring minus 3 to come this side to become positive. And then x is the same as 3 out of 2. Remember, 3 out of 2 is the same as 1 and a half. Then if we have x plus 4 equals 0, it actually means that x equals negative 4. We bring positive 4 this side to become a negative of 4. So finally, our two answers are that x equals 1.5 or x equals negative 4. Have you understood that? Students, have you understood?
Yes.
Okay. If you don't understand, please feel free to ask. If you don't understand and keep quiet, then when I give you a test, you may fail. Let us look at example number 8. We'll look at an example that is the same as 7, and we see how to do it. We continue to master the steps of doing it. Now, we are having 3x squared minus 17x plus 10 equals 0. So that is the quadratic equation that we have got to solve. And we are solving this using factorization method. So in our step 1, we need to do everything to make sure that we factorize this equation so that we can be able to solve it. So we know that we are going to get the leading coefficient, which is 3. We multiply it by the constant, which is 10. So this means that we are getting 3 times 10 to get 30. So this means that we are going to look for two numbers to multiply to get 30, but these very numbers can be added together to get the negative of 17. What two numbers are those, students? Yes, so Luis? What do you think? You know that to get 30, it can be 2 times 15, can give you 30, but you can also get negative 2 times negative 15 to get 30. But you know that 2 plus 15 will give you 17. Remember, we have negative 17. So it will be negative 2 plus negative 7 that will give us negative 17. So this means that our two numbers are negative 2 and negative 15. Okay, so it means that we are having the leading coefficient, which is 3. Now we write it as 3x minus 2 into 3x minus 15. This is equal to 0. But now you can see that for 3x minus 2, it is fine. We don't have any common factor of 3 and 2. But when it comes to 3 and 15, you see that we have a common factor. In fact, 3 is the common factor. Since we are factorizing these, we need to make sure that we factorize them completely. So we can divide this by 3 and we divide this by 3. So when we do that, remember this is still 3x minus 2. And then 3x divided by 3, we get x. And 15 divided by 3, we get 5. So that will be factored to become x minus 5. And remember, this is equal to 0. So now we can say that since we have them already in factored form, this takes us back to example 1 where we began from. So this will be 3x minus 2 equals 0, all x minus 5 equals 0. And if 3x minus 2 equals 0, it means that 3x is equal to 2. And then x is equal to 2 out of 3. Remember, we need to divide by 3 on both sides. That's why we have x equals 2 out of 3. Now, if we have x minus 5 equals 0, it means that x is equal to 5. Remember, we need to get minus 5. We take it this side. And since it is minus 5, it will become plus 5. So finally, it means that x is 2 out of 3, all x is equal to 5. So those are the solutions to this quadratic equation. Okay, now I hope you have understood that very well. But sometimes you may be given a quadratic equation when they say that it is not equal to 0. For instance, you are given, let's call it example number 9. For instance, you are given x into x plus 6 is equal to -5. Now, many of students always make a mistake. They say, okay, so this is x equals -5, or x plus 6 equals -5. This is not correct. So what we have to do is to make sure that we write this quadratic equation in general form. So this means that we are getting x times x to get x squared. Then we are getting x times 6 to get 6x. And then this -5, we shall take it this side and we have it as +5. And we say that it is equal to 0. So you see that this is now the general form of the quadratic equation. Now that we have it that it is equal to 0, we can go ahead and solve it normally. I believe all of you can be able to solve a quadratic equation that is in this form. We have looked at that already. So we know that we need to get two numbers that multiply to 5, but add to 6. What are those numbers? Arirat, what are the numbers?
Five and 1.
Yes, very good. 1 and 5. All 5 and 1. That's good. So 1 and 5. 1 times 5, we get 5. And 1 plus 5, we get 6. So this means that we are having x plus 1 into x plus 5. And so x plus 1 equals 0, all x plus 5 equals 0. So then x is equal to -1, all x is equal to -5. So our solutions are that x is equal to -1, all x is equal to -5. Okay, let's look at another one that is in this format. Let's call it number 10. Like we are having, let's say, k into 2k plus 5 is equal to 3. K into 2k plus 5 is equal to 3. So what we need to do is to make sure that we make this the general form of a quadratic equation. So we get k times 2k to get 2k squared. Then we get k times 5 to get 5k. Plus 3, we take this side to become -3, and then it's equal to 0. So since the leading coefficient is not 1, we need to get 2 times -3. 2 times -3, this 2, and this -3. So 2 times -3, we will get -6. So we need two numbers that multiply to -6, but add to 5. What are the numbers? two numbers that can add to 5 and multiply to -6. What do you think?
-1 and 6.
-1 and
6.
6. Very good. Because -1 times 6, we will get -6. And -1 plus 6, we will get 5. That's very good. That's very good. So what we are going to do, we will have 2k minus 1 into 2k plus 6 equals 0. But remember that these 2k and 6, 2 and 6 have got a common factor, which is 2. We need to make sure that we factorize it completely. So this means that we will have 2k minus 1 into 2k divided by 2, we get 1k, or the same as k, plus 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. So it means that we are having 2k minus 1 into k plus 3. So then we say that 2k minus 1 wait a minute, I write this very well. 2k minus 1 is equal to 0, all k plus 3 is equal to 0. And then this means that 2k is equal to 1 and k is equal to a half. Then k plus 3 equals 0. It means that k is equal to -3. So therefore, k is equal to a half, all k is equal to -3. I hope this is very, very okay. So let's look at the last example. This is the same as what we have been looking at. Assume that we have 3n squared minus 5 into n plus 1 is equal to 7n plus 58. This is the quadratic equation that we have got to solve. So everyone, you need to pay attention. Remember, we need to write it in the general form of the quadratic equation. So we are having 3n squared minus 5 times n, we get minus 5n. Then minus 5 times plus 1, we get minus 5. Minus 5 times n minus 5n, minus 5 times 1, we get minus 5. Then we bring 7n this side, so it will be minus 7n. And we also bring 58 this side, it will be minus 58. And since we have taken the whole of this side, it means that this side we have got a 0. So we have 3n squared minus 5n, this one, then minus 7n, this one, then minus 5 minus 58 is equal to 0. So we have 3n squared minus 5n minus 7n. What do we get? Minus 5n minus 7n, what do we get? Minus
12.
Yes, minus 12n, very good. Then we have minus 5 minus 58. This will give us minus 63. And now this is equal to 0. But, you know, the easiest thing here is that we can see 3, we can see 3 here, and we can see 3 here. So we have a common factor here, which is 3. In fact, you can get divide this by 3, divide this by 3, divide this by 3. We don't need to divide 0 by 3, because also if we get 0 divided by 3, still we will get 0. So even if you don't write it, doesn't matter, because still the result will be 0. So you get 3n squared divided by 3, you are getting n squared. And minus 12 divided by 3, we are getting minus 4n. And 63 divided by 3, you are getting 21 is equal to 0. And so now you get two numbers that multiply to negative 21, but add to negative 4. What numbers are those?
Positive 3 and negative 7.
Very good. Because 3 times negative 7, we are getting negative 21. But if we get 3 plus negative 7, it will give us negative 4. That's very good. That's very good. So we are getting n plus 3 into n minus 7 equals 0. So if we have n plus 3 equals 0, all n minus 7 equals 0, it means that n equals minus 3, all n equals positive 7. So it means that our two answers are that n is equal to negative 3, all n is equal to 7. Have you all understood that?